Meteorologist Dave Murray. Tune in, turn on to KXFM 1047, Laguna's community radio.
Thank you for that, Dave. And we are back on Wake Up Laguna. This is Rick Jorgensen here on KXFM, and I am really excited about bringing on my next guest. She is here with me on the screen, actually, all the way from the UK. So it's a bit later there in the day. It's not quite Wake Up Laguna there, but I think she's wide awake anyway. So I introduced Isla here a little bit earlier, but I think just to kind of set the stage again for who she is and where I think she's going to take us today. She's an intuitive canine wellness alchemist. Now, just that alone draws me in, like intuitive canine wellness alchemist. She's a shamanic practitioner and a soul nourisher. I can't even speak this morning. Soul nourisher for people and animals. So I'm really excited about bringing her in. I think I'm just going to jump her right on in here and let her say hi to everybody. Welcome, Isla.
Oh, good morning, Rick. It's absolute delight to be here. And it's definitely our nana nap season here in the UK in the afternoon, but definitely wide awake and raring to go and share to everyone that is ready to hear and listen and receive.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I'll make sure that everyone has your contact information, has your website, etc. It'll be in my show notes. I'll post this recording of this pretty quickly after we're done here, and people can find this in my show notes. They'll find it on my YouTube channel as well. All of your contact information, because you're really going to want to learn a lot more about Isla and her practice after today. I know I am, certainly. So I'm excited to have you here. Thank you again for being here with us.
Oh, honestly, it's a delight to be here. I can't wait to get started with, however the conversation is going to flow and go.
Well, yeah, let me ask you a little bit about just kind of the start of your journey. Can you share with us a little bit about how, you combined zoology and conservation biology and then, of course, the shamanic practices into your work? How did that journey bring you to this point?
Oh, do you know, it's such a beautiful and rich question. And it feels like if anybody's not seen the Goonies, this statement is going to be wasted on them. But it's a little bit like on the Goonies when Chunk gets kidnapped and they're like, we want to know everything. And he's like, everything. And they're like, everything. And he starts from like basically when he was born. It's kind of been a progressive journey through a series of events and experiences. So, if I may, I'm going to take you all back to when I was like a little teeny tiny child. I've always, ever since a child, I've always just kind of had a knowing that everything is alive. Not that I could receive back when I was little, when I was a kid, but I just always acknowledged stones, trees, plants, earth, water, stars, just like, hi, hi, hi. So I've always had that knowing, but yeah, at that age, I never really received anything back. But yeah, just had that knowing. But also when I was a child, I also had a wolf and bear with me. Like this wolf and bear, to me, were very real, very alive, very large. And I assumed everybody else could see this, to me, real life wolf and bear. When I got a little bit older, I realized that only I could see it. And that was indication to me like, okay, they're just two of my power animals or spirit animals that are traveling with me in support and protection and information. So I've always kind of had this spiritual awareness or awareness that everything is alive and that we can connect to it and that we can receive. And then with that, I've always been fascinated with science. So I've always kind of had one foot in academia, one foot in science, and one foot in spirituality. But what I love about that is science, the fundamental basis of science is on spirituality anyway, when we kind of go way, way, way back to how science was originally formed and created. So I've always had a love, therefore, of kind of getting everyone to be in whatever way feels right for them, but to be inspired and connected to nature, to conservation. Just for me, it's our brothers and sisters that we share this earth and this land and this universe and cosmos with. So at that point, I really had a love for animals. So I wanted to learn more and study more about animals. That took me on my zoology route. But whilst I was doing my zoology degree, there were a lot of my first modules were in plants. And I was quite naive at that time. I was like, oh, I don't really care about the plants. Plants are so boring. Ugh, like really disrespectful to the plants. I'm really sorry. But I then developed this beautiful fascination with plants alongside with animals, of how we can connect intuitively to our plant friends, and actually how they're here for our health and our wellness as much as our animal friends are, and all of life. And that desire continued into my master's and PhD, which is in conservation biology and ecosystem services. Now, with ecosystem services, I developed this fascination and understanding that everything is an ecosystem. So we live on Earth as an ecosystem as one, but as an individual, we are also an ecosystem. So it's kind of this dance and interplay between ecosystem as one and us being part of oneness, and then also how we safeguard and nourish our own individual ecosystem. During that time, I then wanted to be a wolf conservation biologist. So I was kind of completing my PhD, wanted to the area of conservation I wanted to go into was wolf conservation. And that took me on a route of 3 years working with captive wolves. So I spent 3 years working with captive wolves, which again took me deeper into the nature of animals, just where animals live from, their presence, they're living in the moment, that place of just now, and that place of the heart, that place of sincerity, that place of non-judgment, that place of unconditional love, of like, we're here, we're living, we're full of joy, we're full of happening and happiness. And then during the time that I was working with wolves, I started to meet many people that wanted to come and meet the wolves, wanted to learn about them, wanted to hear about their conservation, ecology, behavior. But I kind of kept hearing the same thing. And although they had this love for an animal that they didn't even have any connection association with because they didn't live with that animal, many of these people had their own dog. And the conversations they would share with me, really innocently so and naively so, was around their dog, around, oh, well, my dog's stupid, or my dog needs to do what I tell it to do, or my dog's trying to manipulate me, or what was my dog thinking? And I'm like, oh, I'm really curious here how there's been this separation and disconnection between like a wild wolf and the honoring and the love and respect and admiration that we have. And yet that's kind of being diluted in our animal friends that we've chosen to domesticate and live with. And so it kind of then took me on this journey of how do I connect with animal guardians to understand their animals and ecosystem, and how we conserve their ecosystem emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually, and also how the animal friend is in our life as an expression of spirit to awaken our own soul evolution, healing, and consciousness from the heart.
That's beautiful. That's fantastic. Thank you for walking us through that. So what inspired you to create Kachina Canine and focus on building a spiritual community for the animal industry, really?
Yeah. Thank you for asking that question. So the principle of Kachina is, so when I'm connecting with spirit, when I'm connecting with the consciousness of an animal, animals are really giving their symbol to me. So I often, I actually always receive their sacred symbol. So I work a lot with symbols. And when I was kind of feeling into the consciousness of the business I wanted to create, which for me, it's like on one level I've created it, but in another level it has its own consciousness as well. So it's kind of like Kachina Canine is also my own boss that I connect to in terms of its spirit and spirit consciousness. So it showed me this symbol. And the concept of Kachinas are there's a teaching around that they are teachers, that Kachinas will come in our hardest times, in our most challenging times, in our most painful times, in our times. And we're like, oh, I'm really being tested here. What's going on? And the concept, the term is Kachina. A Kachina has come to bring us a test, not to make us feel bad, not to make us feel unworthy, not to kind of point the finger and look, this is where we should judge you or you should have shame or blame. None of those things. It's actually to pull us into this place of, as I say, soul evolution, our own spiritual growth and enlightenment, which our animals are already in. They're already in that space of the heart and of knowing and connection to the infinite, connection to spirit. And I wanted to create this space to help animal guardians live from a place of being soul-led and heart-centered with their animal friends, but also by giving themselves unconditional love. Like, we really, there is such a concept around we place so much of our own pains and wounds and unconscious triggers and charges onto our children. We're doing exactly the same thing with our animal friends, but also from a place of our animal friends are going, hey, look back at yourself. What are we presenting to you? And how what we're presenting to you, how does that make you feel? And that's for us to go within and do our own personal growth and our own personal work. So it was almost like this beautiful eclectic dance of our animal friends come in our life so we can understand how to support them and their wellness needs, but also how they're in our life to bring forward our own soul consciousness life of living with them and being in ceremony with them. Our life is a ceremony.
Yes, absolutely. You know, and one of the things that you've said is that everything that exists is vibration and soul, right? How does that perspective guide your work with animals and people?
Oh, I love this. This is a great question, Rick. It really excites me so much. So, the way that I see life, and I never used to, this has been as I say, this has been a long walk for me, and it's a continued walk. But the way that I see life, including our animal friends, is that everything is an expression of spirit, including ourselves. But everything is an expression of spirit that is in their wholeness. The only life form that has been taken out of their wholeness for most of us are humans. And in order to be in this space of balance, healing, oneness, high consciousness, everything is asking us to come back into our oneness, to come back into our wholeness. It's just so beautiful that our animal friends are the ones that walk really closely beside us to go, hey, we'll be the ones that come as expression of spirit disguised in this form that you have named animal, that you've named dog, to pull you into this space of spiritual enlightenment, spiritual awakening, to have these conversations together. So what I receive when I'm channeling from animal consciousness or from my channeling guides that are called the canine people, the message that they will keep emitting is return to ceremony, return to ceremony, return to ceremony. And return to ceremony really in a nutshell is return to infinite consciousness, return to that space. And it's like, well, picking on dogs, or even a blackbird. I'm going to actually pick on our dogs for now. Is our dogs aren't walking around going, oh, like say for example, my dogs at the moment, I have two beautiful cocker spaniels. My cocker spaniels aren't walking around going, oh, I wish I was a Great Dane. Oh, I wish I was like blonde rather than brown. They're like, wow, this is me in this moment. I've been created. I am an expression of spirit, consciousness, as a fragmentation of soul in this body. If I was going to be something else, I would be something else because I'm not. This is me. And how awesome is it to be me? Yeah, as humans, we're kind of have unfortunately being conditioned to be like, there's something else that you could be better at. There's something else that you could be better, and you could be, if only you had this, if only you were this, and it's nothing about that. I am Isla. If I was going to be something else, I would be something else. So how do I embody all parts of me to go, wow, I am Isla, and there's nobody else on this planet, on this existence, in this cosmos that is me. What medicine have I got to bring? And that's what our animal friends bring to us to go, be unconditional love, accept yourself who you are, and be fully in it, in your wholeness.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, one of the interesting things that you said a little bit earlier about our animal friends is that they are constantly in the present moment. They live only in the present moment. I don't think they're thinking about the past. I'm pretty sure they're not thinking about the future. I think they're just living in the moment. And it's such a great lesson for us when you think about as many times as I've said to people that I work with, it's all about being in the present moment. When you really want to center yourself, just make sure that you're in the moment. You're not in the past. You're not in the future. You're in the now. Just pretend that there is no past, pretend there is no future, and just be in the now. So I love that. And for me, I think I could come home as I do, and maybe I've been out of the house for 3 or 4 hours. Doesn't even matter the time frame, which is another interesting concept, right? The concept of time for animals, for dogs. That's another topic that I think maybe we will get into. But I'll come home, sit down on the couch, and I've got a King Charles Spaniel, and she just literally gets right up onto my chest. She puts her paws on either side of my neck, and just with her head just goes back and forth like I've been gone forever, And it's so funny because it's the same thing every single day, right? But for me, I love it. It's kind of a way for me to, just get rid of everything that I walked in the door with and just bring me into this space of unconditional love, of presence, right? Right, just in that moment. And it's just such an amazing feeling. And I think that's just a gift that our animal friends have to give us, right? If we accept it, right? If we accept it. And I love that. So many things about your work have intrigued me. And there's a lot of phrases that you use that I want to kind of dive into. One of those phrases is spiritual nourishment. I love that. And I'd love to know what that means to you and why it's important for both humans and animals.
Yeah, I feel it's really important as a physical being on this earth that is an expression of spirit to have a deep spiritual practice, to have that connection. And for me, that's kind of what spiritual nourishment is, where as humans, for many of us, feel so disconnected. We feel so disconnected to ourselves, so disconnected to our body, so disconnected to earth. Often there's a longing for something, or a confusion, or leading into depression and much worse things. That many years ago, hey, I was in that place of I'm just like, I just don't get life. I'm just gonna leave. I'm gonna end it. And fortunately, I didn't. But knowing that because we are an expression of spirit here, having this like soul experience right now in this body as Isla, has been named Isla, to know that I have this connection to the unseen, that I have this connection to the invisible, that I have this connection to the infinite, that is also guiding me, is also supporting me, is also like, hey, you came before in a different form and you just didn't quite get there, or there's some things to hand over, or there's some things to heal from, or there's some things that your ancestors have asked you to do, or there's some things that your soul kind of asked you to do, or there's something that you need to do in order to move through and beyond and past. So having this spiritual nourishment that then supports me whilst I'm in this body, mentally, physically, and emotionally. There is, what I love in wellness is that there's so much focus now around physical nourishment, emotional nourishment, mental nourishment, but we're still kind of whispering like, oh, there's also spiritual, but we don't really get it or understand it, or is it a little bit wacky, but I'm like, no, like we start off as spirit before we fall into a physical being, whether that is human, whether that's non-human animal, whether it's plant, grass, water, earth, microbe, whatever it may be. We start off as spirit, we come into form, then we go back to spirit. It's like this cycle. And whether we need to come back as physical form, or we choose to come back as physical form, or we stay as spirit and we support others that are then in physical existence, just like our animal friends do when they transition. What I find so beautiful about that is when our animal friends transition, they're an ancestor for me now. Like, that's so beautiful that they haven't gone, their physical body is gone, but the spirit can never be destroyed. And in ways where they are limited in being a physical body, now they walk with me from a place that is unlimited. And they can come to me in dream time. They can come to me when I'm doing a ceremony or a journey. I can pray to them. I can call upon them. I can just say, I'm missing you so much. Can you just let me know that you're here? And a song will come on the radio quite unexpectedly, or a cloud formation might come. And I'm like, oh, that looks like my dog. Like, because spirit is in everything, and it's also infinite. So the ways that we're going to receive are infinite and are unlimited. And that's the beauty of me of going, spirit is who we are. It's not separate to us. It's not, oh, well, human, so we can't have that spiritual connection. We are an expression of spirit in human form, as our animal friends are. But as I say, what they are pulling us back into is like, hey, be in this space of your soul evolution, do your personal work, go within and feel the soul that you are and the connection that we have to all of life.
That's beautiful. I love that. And just as a reminder for people that are just tuning in, you are listening to Wake Up Laguna with Rick Jorgensen and my very fantastic, wonderful guest, Isla Fishburn, sharing with us. So, Isla, the other question I had, and something that I read, was your concept of spiritual ecology. How does that influence your approach to wellness? Where does that come in?
Yeah. Oh, Beautiful question. I love spiritual ecology. So, I mean, heck, that takes me back to when I was doing conservation biology and my PhD, my undergrad in zoology, where just an understanding of ecology, how ecosystems work and the interaction of ecosystems and how everything is interconnected in that way. But spiritual ecology goes deeper than that, which is, like we've already shared, the discussion of everything is alive and everything is not only interconnected, but speaking to one another, speaking to each other. I mean, there's a lot of beautiful studies and discussion now around like how trees have their own ecosystem and have their own like almost internet information, internet signal, just like the mushrooms do. So it's dropping into this space of, as human, we are not separate to anything. As human, we are not superior to anything. In fact, in many ways, when we are not being soul led and we're being led by the mind instead, we are very much inferior to all of life that is living from their divine wisdom, which is what we have. And so with spiritual ecology, it is tapping into the concept of everything is alive, everything is connected, and everything has spirit. So if I'm I don't know, if I'm sad, like I'm really sad, you know what feels right for me? I'm going to be with a tree. I'm going to sit with a tree and just speak to the tree. I'm going to go, hey, like I'm really hurting right now. Could you transform these emotions for me? I mean, trees are beautiful transformers. You know, they bring in carbon dioxide, kick out oxygen for us to live and exist. It might be I just want to lie down with the earth and go, hey, earth, I need some support. I need some guidance. I need some nurturing. I need some holding. I see you. I know that you're alive. Can you sing me a song? I'd really appreciate for me to receive a song from you. So that's the beauty of so many people say to me like, well, what can I do? Or how can I receive? Or what can I receive? Well, spirit is infinite and spirit is unlimited. So what it is that we need, we will receive in the way that we need it, but on who we are based on our spirit, where we've come from, what we have been, what we're destined to be, that spirit will speak to us in all these ways and through nature. And not just through nature, but what I love is, I know I mentioned before, like how a song may come on the radio. I even love when sometimes I'm connecting with an animal guardian, and just when they're having a pain point and they're like, oh, I don't want to go there maybe, and they try and get there, and then their Zoom freezes. I'm like, that's spirit right there speaking to us. So spirit doesn't define between, oh, it only comes when you're in nature. Spirit isn't everything, whether we see it or not. And it's really just practicing and just planting this seed that everything is alive and spirit is speaking to me all the time, regardless of whether it's in my animal friend, in a tree, or whether I see it or not. It's always there supporting me.
Absolutely. How can we, as animal guardians, those of us that are in that position, how can we support our pets' spiritual wellness in everyday life?
What a question. Oh, okay. Let me feel into this, because I'm like, everything, so many things to share. So actually, a lot of it starts with the self, because our animal friends are already in their wholeness. Our animal friends are emotional beings, just like we were when we were children. We start off as emotion. We're feeling. So a phrase that I often say is, because we're physical matter, matter doesn't think, it feels. Because we are physical matter as humans, we should be feeling, not thinking. So as animal guardians, I will always share, let's go into feeling rather than thinking, which is what our animal friends are doing. Our animal friends, like you shared, of our animal friends, they don't think. Their body can have experiences that make associations. So for example, particularly if they've had trauma, for example, so of course that's true and right and good, and we need to support them in that way. But they are not sitting at home going, oh, I remember when I got hit by that car and that was like really scary, and when we're going to get hit by a car again. That's what we do as humans when we're in the head. But if we drop into the heart, really drop down into this heart space and see our dogs, but not give them a label. So this is a thing, like, as I've already shared, I've got Cocker Spaniels, you've got a beautiful King Charles, and that's just a word that we have given to this beautiful sacred physical form. So I can sit at home going, oh, there's my Cocker Spaniels, they're Cocker Spaniels, this is what it means to be a Cocker Spaniel, this is what it means to be a dog. But if we can just take a moment, drop into the heart and be like, what does it mean to be you? Not as dog, not as Cocker Spaniel, not as these are my conditions that I've been told what it means to be dog or not. Forget all those things. Imagine I've not seen you, I don't even know what you are. How do I get to be curious about who are you beyond the physical body that they're in? And then how we can start to feel into what are you then presenting to me? What are you trying to show me? And I love going into this space because although our animal friends are on their own spiritual journey from their past lives or what they've also come to heal from or what they've also come to experience, they also, as an expression of spirit in their wholeness, have come to say to us, hey, we kind of need you on it. We need you in your wholeness as well. In order for this to work, we need you in your wholeness. So what I always love is to ask someone, whatever your animal friend is presenting to you, how does that make you feel? Someone might say to me, oh, well, I feel really guilty that I put my animal on these drugs and I've now realized there's these side effects and they might be long lasting, or I feel really guilty about it. I'm like, okay, so the experience, the event is irrelevant. What's relevant is the feeling behind it. So your dog in that moment is showing itself as an expression of spirit to go, we need you to heal from guilt. What we're inviting you to really, really look at from no blame, no shame, no judgment is when was the first time you were made to feel guilty? When was the first time you were told that you did something wrong when in fact you didn't do anything wrong? And you've been carrying around that in your body the rest of your life, and then you've been putting on your dog, you're wrong, you can only do this, you can't do that. Our animal friends are just behaving. They don't know what right or wrong is. They're just like, oh, I'm having an experience, I'm feeling and I'm responding. But how does that make us feel when they present something? So for me, it's like a number one protocol for their wellness is going within of, okay, my animal friend is an expression of spirit that my own soul has beautifully pulled into my life, that spirit has beautifully gifted to me for my own healing journey. And besides all this is what it means to be dog, and this is how I need to raise my dog, particularly if we've got an animal as a puppy, particularly if we've got an animal that has trauma. Of course, in that sense, it's like we need you to understand how we can exist in life and be safe. And that's kind of like a separate conversation. But also, how is my animal friend guiding me, inviting me to go, do you know what? You are perfect as you are. You are beautiful as you are. Look at me. I might have eyes missing. I might have a leg missing. I might have a great big wart. But I accept me for who I am, and I'm full of unconditional love, which is what our animal friends emit back to us. They're asking us, do you love yourself as much as you love me? Do you love yourself? Full stop. And for me, that's always, let's ask that question, because that's where we can then explore what our animal friend needs and how we give it to them.
That's beautiful. I love that. We're going to take just a quick break, play a couple of promo spots here, and then we're going to come back, and I'm going to ask you about co-creative partnerships. So hold that thought, but we'll be right back.
KXFM 104.7 Laguna Beach Radio.
Hey, it's Open Water wishing you a very happy holiday and reminding you that if you're struggling this holiday season, you're not alone. We're all just pretending for each other. Isn't that beautiful in its own way? I'm pretending right now. You're picturing me in the studio surrounded by a bunch of DJs dressed like elves while Alyssa hands out gifts tied up in bright red bows. When really, I'm just broadcasting from a public restroom in Aliso. Again, if you're lonely or despondent and you need, 14 or 15 songs in a row that echo that sentiment, then Open Water has your back every Thursday at 5. And if you're doing just fine, then maybe find a way to share it out. Happy holiday. No, it's cool. I'll tear down right now. Hey, wash your hands,
Join
okay?
me, Chris Amadeo, on Vagabond Soul Radio, Wednesdays 8 to 10 p.m. on KXFM. It's a deep dive into the music and zeitgeist of the entire decade of the 70s. Join me, 8 to 10 p.m. Wednesdays on KXFM. Tune in, turn on.
Greetings, friends and neighbors. George Dubin with you. I'm your host for Art Matters on Tuesdays at 1 p.m., where myself and my learned guests talk about the issues facing our creative community here in the Art Colony. So please tune in to KXFM 104.7 at 1 p.m. on Tuesdays. And remember, friends, the soul and vitality of any community is often measured by how they treat their creatives.
Tune in, turn on to KXFM 104.7, Laguna's community radio.
All right, everybody, we are back live on Wake Up Laguna with Rick Jorgensen and my fabulous guest, Isla Fishburn. And the conversation that we've been having, Isla, has been amazing. And I'm looking forward to diving into the next question, if that's okay with you. You talk about co-creative partnerships with life. How does that look in practice when working with animals?
Oh, beautiful question. All these questions have been beautiful. Um, so there's kind of with animals, because they are physical and often as humans, we make the decision and the choice to choose what animal we're going to be coexisting with. So it might be, oh, I'm going to choose to get a puppy. I'm going to choose to go to a rescue center and rescue a dog or a cat or a horse or whatever it may be. So our mind tells us, oh, I've actually made that decision. So I myself have physically chosen to now bring this animal friend into my home. There's a much higher purpose at play where it's like before we came into this physical existence and before our animal friend came to into their physical existence, when we were spirit, we've kind of had this conversation that we've forgotten that says, look, I'm going to meet you in this place, in this time, on this date, and we're going to be in coexistence together again. And I say again because I can't guarantee and can't say that it's always, but I also would like to say it's always the case that the animal friends that are in our life, it's just, again, it's just a rolling contract. It's just a rolling cycle where we have been in existence together before, and chances are we'll be in existence together again. Doesn't mean to say that we've been human and that animal before. It could be we've been the animal and they've been the human. It could be that we've all been humans. It could be that we've all been animals. That doesn't matter. But we're having this kind of rolling cycle, like when the ocean, the waves come in and roll the rocks in, and the rocks go back out and they roll back in again. And for me, that's kind of creating a co-created relationship, a co-creative partnership. For me, I do it in all ways. So I have written a couple of books. Both books I co-created with nature, with the consciousness of my animal friends, and with certain plant allies. So I'm in this space of like, oh, I'm feeling something to create. Who wishes to create this with me? And I don't question, I don't go out, I don't decide from my mind. I sit in quiet space, quiet contemplation from the heart and go, okay, who is kind of raising their hand? Who is making themselves known to me? And for me, this is the space of the co-creative partnership with our animal friends. It is a coexistence, not a, I have brought you into my house, you will do as I say. And that's a dictatorship. But from that place of being heart-centered and soul-led, it's like, hey, I see you as you see me. I see you as a sentient being that is sacred, that is divine, that is in itself an expression of spirit divine. I'm curious to know, why are you in my life? How are you in my life? And also what you need. So it's very much it's always a compromise. Sometimes people come to me of this, have this beautiful romance of, going for long off-lead walks on the beach with their dog, going into the city, sitting outside a coffee shop, and the dog's being friendly to all. And that's a beautiful romance, and that can be a beautiful reality for some animals. But other animals, like, hey, I've been brought into existence for this, and that is too much for me. And we make our animal friends, or try and make our animal friends, to do something that they're actually saying, this isn't comfortable for me. Can you please hear me? Can you please listen to me? And being in that space of co-creation, it's about, wow, how am I here with my animal friend, and how is my animal friend in my life, where we can create this co-creative partnership. So it is a compromise of, this is what I need, this is what feels right for me. And it takes me back to, imagine when we were children, when we were desperately trying to say to an adult or a role model in our life, hey, this is not right for me, or I'm confused, or I'm frustrated, or will someone just listen to me? And we're constantly told, shut up, you're annoying, child should be seen and not heard. We kind of often unconsciously put the wounds that we are carrying from our own childhood onto our dogs or onto our animal friends, that they do so lovingly, because that's what they're here to help us heal from and move into soul evolution. So for me, it's this co-creation, just like we would with them, a work colleague. They are our colleagues, they are our family in that way of, how can I support my animal friend, and equally, how are they in my life to support me? So we have this leads us into our consciousness, how we can channel with them, how we can, even in their behavior, we don't have to channel with them, even by understanding or by feeling. That's really what it is, feeling their behavior, feeling what they're emitting, feeling what they're sharing. Then it goes, okay, we are now in co-creation here.
Yeah. So when my beautiful Macy May is barking because she can see images on the television screen, which always boggles my mind, but she can see, and usually she's barking at, usually it's other animals, right? But she's wagging her tail while she's barking, right? That to me, that's sending a signal to say, I just want to play, but I'm going to bark at them. And she'll actually run our television sits in a big console and up against the wall, and on the other side of that wall is our bedroom. And she will actually at times run behind the television into the bedroom, thinking that what she's looking at is a mirror. I mean, not a mirror, is a window, and she's looking out. I find it fascinating. But, you know, what's interesting is the types of things that irritate us, like when she starts barking at the TV. My first instinct is tell her to hush up. Macy, hush. But then, so I've gotten to the point where I just kind of let her be, because she's speaking. She's emoting to the what's on the TV. And if I get somewhat irritated with it, rather than try to correct her, I'll hit the guide button on the remote, which brings up another screen, which takes away that image. And then she quiets down because whatever she was barking at has now gone away, right? So, but it's interesting how we as humans, as guardians, react to something that our animal is doing in any given moment that may irritate us, right? That may, but there's a reason that they're doing this. They're wanting to show us something. They're wanting to communicate something to us. And I don't think from an intuitive standpoint that we spend enough time feeling, right, what's really happening with our pets, right? We're not feeling it. And so I love that a large part of your practice is helping people intuitively in that guidance work with and connect more to their animals, right? So
it's actually such a beautiful example that you've given, bringing forward like the word reaction, like we react to that, oh, the dog's doing something. And what I love actually, for the number of times that I've now connected to the soul consciousness or connected to the conscious of an animal that, for example, might be barking, again, because we are told, or a dog barks for various different reasons. There are an infinite amount of reasons beyond what our mind can comprehend of why an animal is barking. And so, not saying it is for Dia Maisie, but she could be barking because in past lives she's like, hey, I recognize that animal because I used to be one of those. It could simply be, hey, I'm a dog, I'm a social being, I love to play, I recognize these animals, I want to go off and play, and haven't quite mastered the concept of a TV. But what is so beautiful, like you've shared and described, is that you're acknowledging her feelings. And okay, all I need to do is, rather than getting irritated or annoyed or telling her to shut up, because she is well within her right to express how she needs to express, without, it's like if we're yelling and shouting, in some way it is the concept of, oh, the dog, it can be like, oh, my human is also barking along with me as well. But it creates confusion because, you know, sometimes people will say to me, oh, I want my dog to understand when they're doing wrong. I'm like, but that's not a concept for them. When we're children, it's not a concept for us. Again, it's just a belief system that's being placed into us. So they can be a bit like, oh, like, what? Like, how come your emotion has changed? But taking this as an example, if we go to this space of, right, okay, easy concept is, I'm just going to change the guide screen so that animals disappear for a while and, oh, she stops barking. So that's not so irritating. But if this, for me, it's, the question I was bringing forward, if we go back to what I was sharing about what is the animal presenting, what happens is that when we basically carry within us these unconscious charges, they're unconscious until they're ready to be felt. And so because, like I said before, because we're physical matter, we should be feeling. We're feeling beings, not thinking beings. But again, we've been conditioned to think, and it's something outside of me. It's nothing to do with, it's something outside of me. So we kind of feel this charge, but partly because it's painful and partly because we're being told it's something outside of us to blame, we don't go to the charge. Whereas what we do is, in that moment, we can go, curious, little Maisie's barking. That's creating a charge in me. Let me go to the feeling of that charge. Okay, that feeling of the charge is irritability. Okay, well, what is this? If this irritability had a voice, which it does because everything is consciousness, so irritability exists, it has consciousness. If I could sit this irritability, if I could sit in front of me, say, hey, pull up a chair, here's a beer. If you had a voice, what do you want to share to me? Like, how do you want to be embodied? How do you want to be loved? What is it that you need? then that's, again, our soul evolution. That's the activation of part or one of the layers of our healing journey. So as an example for me, I'm going to give you two examples, actually. One of them, which it's happened to me quite a few times, not myself, but with animal guardians that I've worked with, around barking, where the charge actually for the human guardian, I'm not saying it's for you at all, Rick, but for the animal guardian has been around, yes, and where in your life have you been oppressed? Where in your life have you been told your voice is not relevant and don't you dare speak up? And it is, I mean, even sharing that now, it just brings an overwhelming sense of emotion, because again, for most of us, particularly as children, or particularly maybe in business or in relationships, we've been told you are not relevant, your voice does not count, your opinion does not matter. And so we kind of get irritated by like, oh, my dog feels they're free to speak, because they are, but what they're emoting also back to us is go, hey, it's also free for you to speak. Another example is a personal example for me, which is actually my two current dogs, Manitou and Lilu, is that we got them as pups. And when they got to the age, like they were first walking beautifully on the lead, great. And then they got to the age where they were like, everything's so exciting and we're a little bit bigger and they're pulling on the lead. And so they're pulling on the lead. And just because I'm in this space now, as I say, this has been a long walk for me, but I'm in this space now where I can recognize when a charge comes in and I catch it and go, okay, let me feel you. Let me be with you. So what I felt when Manitou and Lily were pulling on the lead was anger. And I'm like, curious. I would like to say I'm a person that's not angry. Clearly, I have some residue there. So I wasn't saying, stupid dogs, don't you dare pull. I was like, curious. When my animals are pulling on the lead, what charge comes for me is anger. So when I got home, I noted it. I need to put some space aside to be with this anger. Let me be with it. And when I sat with it, again, thank you, Manitou and Lilu, for bringing my healing to me, because I've realized I've got anger in my body that is ready to be released. And then when I sat with it, I realized it's kind of like it's layered. So some of it was from like little girl Isla, when I was around many, many adults. And as a little girl Isla, I was still like, hey, I know I'm a child, but I've got stuff to say in this conversation. I want to be part of this conversation. I've got important things to say, but I was always silenced, or I was hushed, or I wasn't invited to be included in the conversation. So it's kind of like the angry, frustrated Isla of like, well, someone just listen to me. So there was that. And then as that kind of felt cleared and loved and met, I was like, what else is there? And I'm like, it's my mom's anger. It's the anger that my mom's carried in her life from when she was a child, and the trauma that she experienced that she shouldn't have experienced when she was a young, innocent, vulnerable child. And it's not just my mom's, it's my grandmother's. So as I say, we can kind of follow this trail that is activated so beautifully by our animal friends being in our life, rather than going, stupid dog, you're barking, don't you dare bark. But equally saying, and you are free to emote how you need because you're feeling, but how can we also support you?
So, Isla, what I hear you saying is that we really don't need therapists when we have these beautiful animals in our lives, because they truly are our therapist. If we listen, if we feel into what they are telling us in that moment, and how it's not even what they're telling us, but it's the emotion that's being pulled out of us in that moment, like you said beautifully about, whether it's pulling on the lead, or in my case, Macy barking at the television. Why am I feeling this? What's bringing this feeling up? And I just think that's beautiful. And I think that's a large part of the importance of your work and what you do, and bringing the awareness of the real gift that our animals bring us, the real gift that we have as guardians, and the relationship that we have with our pets. So I've got a couple more questions for you. This is going to be a good one for you, Isla. What's one simple action listeners can take today to improve the wellness of their pets and themselves? One simple action.
Notice the feeling and allow yourself to be unconditional love.
Love it. Beautiful. And then, well, that might be the answer also to my final question, which is, do you have a final message or a piece of wisdom that you'd like to share with our audience?
Oh, is it? Can I channel? Would that be welcomed?
Absolutely. Would love that.
Yeah, let me, and if as I'm getting a band for obviously the audience, I'm getting a bandana now because the way that I channel, I always have to put a bandana over my eyes, so it makes me just go into space rather than, oh, I'm in a room and I'm on a radio and show. And so as I'm doing that, I will also share one little piece of information. Is one of my animal friends who's now transitioned, she's in spirit, Tunkasila shared to me that animals come into our lives to be the elixir of our spiritual amnesia. So I'm just going
I
to
love
plant that
that.
as a seed first.
Mhm.
So yeah, animals are in our lives to be the elixir of our spiritual amnesia. So lasting little bit of wisdom. And so yeah, I'm going to channel from the canine people. To us, you are our brothers and sisters. To you, we should be your brothers and sisters. There is no separation to our existence. There is no separation to our desires. We are comfortable in our desire of joy. In every breath, we breathe joy. And in each one of your breaths, we invite you to breathe in joy. We know that we are fantastic, and you too are fantastic. We ask you to breathe in that you are fantastic. We wish for you to realize, and as you are realizing, to tell yourself the greatness that you are. You see the greatness in us, and we know that we are great, and as we are great, as are you. For all is the same. For all is the same. And in being the same, all that exists is love. And you are love. You are love. We ask for you to breathe in love. We ask for you to breathe out love. We ask for you to breathe in love. We ask for you to breathe out love. Our connections are not a coincidence. Our connections have formed before they formed. And our connections move out beyond, into the invisible, into the infinite, and we surround you. Notice your dreaming, and notice what appears in your dreams. We send love to you. We send love to you.
Wow. Thank you, animal people.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mm.
Isla, that was fabulous. And what a wonderful, wonderful way to end our time together for now. So thank you for that. And thank you for sharing all that you shared with us. I want to let everybody know that if you want to reach out to Isla, there's a number of ways to do it, but I think the easiest way is to go to her website, which is KachinaCanine.com. You can just search out Kachina Canine on Google, and it'll come right up as well, as I have done. And this show will be uploaded, and I will share it out to the world with you as well. And Isla, I will share it with you, and you can share it out to your world, because I just think everything that you gave us today was so, so important and so beautiful. And I just feel that this is such a important connection spiritually that we all have the ability to do, and we all should be doing, in spending time with our animals as guardians, right? So, Isla, thank you so much. I will definitely be in touch with you over the next day or two, and we can have further conversation. But thank you so much for sharing with my audience, and have a blessed rest of your day, and we'll talk soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's so beautiful to be with you. Sending you love and many blessings. Thank you.
Thank you. That was incredible, folks. Absolutely incredible. What a beautiful, beautiful soul she is. So happy to share that with all of you. And as I said, this will be, this is being recorded. I'll upload this to my show page and upload it as well to my YouTube channel.